Yo bro, welcome to my stream, good to see you here. Right, today we have a reading stream. Meaning we'll have to read all the codex before we proceed.
Commander.
Commander. Oh, and we're in some remote system. So we can't do this with music. So only failure music to us. Right, alright. Let's read about some planets then. Garen is the innermost planet of the Thal system, which is less than 2.56 million kilometers from its K-class parent star. Temperatures on the sunward side of this tidally locked planet reach more than 2,800 Celsius, boiling away earth and stone. These gases are then carried away by wind from the hottest point to the zone where temperatures are cool enough for the gaseous mixture to recondense, leading to the unusual weather phenomenon of rains of rocks. Garen remains largely unexploited by commercial interests, as the heat of the star tends to ward off all but well-funded collection ships like the so-called Inferno class that mine ESO near energetic stars. Garen does not appear to have ESO, and its other elements are not worth the setup cost. Orbital distance 0.0172 astronomical units. Orbital period 17.52 Earth hours. Atmosphere, radius 11,703 kilometers. Day length 17.52 Earth hours. Atmospheric pressure 0.67 Earth atmospheres. Surface temperature 1,284 Celsius. Global average. Surface gravity 1.56 G. Sarai. A large terrestrial, Sarai's methane-rich atmosphere might be mistaken for that of true hothouse planet. However, some terraforming corporations have targeted it for development, since Sarai has already given rise to some cyanobacteria in the liquid water that can be found near its poles. There is some evidence that the planet has been fluctuating between methane-heavy and oxygen-heavy atmospheres for several million years, each cycle dependent on the nutrients in the ocean that led to bacterial growth or crashes. Star charts catalog several scientific stations studying Sarai, but all appear to have been destroyed by the Reapers. Orbital distance 0.85 astronomical units. Orbital period 0.87 Earth years. Radius 10,413 kilometers. Day length 65 Earth hours. Atmospheric pressure 5.18 Earth atmospheres. Surface temperature 94 Celsius. Surface gravity 1.82 G. Alta Kirill is a garden world on the outer edge of its star's habitable zone. The planet is largely frozen, yet it features native dextroamino acid-based life in its lower latitudes. These species evolved to withstand periodic freezing and compensate for the cold with spectacular population explosions during the long, mild summers. Hardy, independent-minded Turians colonized the planet. The Quarians briefly considered contesting them, but were daunted by the virulence of the planet's infectious life during the growth season, not to mention the colonists who had ties to warlords as elsewhere in the Shrike Abyssal. Alta Kirill's citizens were wiped out by Reapers' bombardment, despite the planet having a reasonably high population, which would usually make it a candidate for harvesting. Allied intelligence suggests that the colonists kept anti-space defense weaponry in population centers, so the Reapers limited their risk by destroying the threat and moving on. Colony founded 2021 CE. Population 13.5 million. All population estimates are pre-invasion. Capital Estivux, Arax. Orbital distance 1.6 astronomical units. Orbital period 2.3 Earth years. Radius 4,145 kilometers. Day length 19.2 Earth hours. Atmospheric pressure 1.19 Earth atmospheres. Surface temperature minus 24 Celsius. Therseo. A hydrogen-helium gas giant, Therseo's many moons were developed along with the colonization of Alta Kirill. It is believed that the majority of them were military in nature, a common theme among Turian colonies. Specifics are few. Alta Kirill's government kept its records classified, and the Reapers have systematically destroyed the installations here. Giant, yeah. Orbital distance 5.4 astronomical units. Orbital period 18.1 Earth years, radius 74,616 kilometers, day length 16.4 Earth hours. Well, that's it. Let's go and do some scanning. Might even find something.
I found something.
Oh, we have refueled. T-Rex. One of the largest objects in the Thales asteroid belt is a metallic asteroid with an iron-nickel core under a rocky olivine mantle. It is possibly a remnant protoplanet prevented from forming into anything bigger by gravitational disturbances from Cersei. Orbital distance 3.3 astronomical units. Orbital period 6.7 Earth years. Radius 808 kilometers. Day length 5.21 Earth hours. Atmospheric pressure trace. Surface temperature minus 140 Celsius. Surface gravity 0.015 G. What is that smile? Is this some kind of clown? Vorcha Labor Team. Whoo! You got a war asset. Well, that's something. Vorcha. Do they have any significant asset value? Yeah, that's channel emotes from one of the Bellator players, PowerPoint. Alien, Vorcha Labor Team. These socialized Vorcha were maintenance and calibration crew on a small scientific outpost orbiting T-Rex. Such skilled labor is rare among Vorcha, but not unheard of, since Vorcha trained by other species for precision tasks develop finely tuned nerve senses. Additionally, this crew can heal cellular damage caused by radiation exposure, which is useful since the crucible is being built where no planet's magnetosphere protects it and extravehicular activity on its hull is often required. Oh, so they help with the crucible, alright. So there's a bunch of jokers and clowns there. Liquid assets. No war can be fought without a bankroll, and the corporate mavens of Ilium know it. Having escaped the invasion, a so-called Gang of Five is leveraging their staggering financial power to acquire the best talent and materials for the Prothean device. They're doing so in necessary ignorance, believing they are hiring and acquiring parts for a new kind of fusion plant, as the device's existence is a tightly guarded secret. Alright. So the bare minimum to defeat the Reapers from our existing military forces is okay. I think I told something stupid. I mean, our current war asset amount is enough, well, barely enough to destroy the Reapers. Kuzil. And of course you've been gifted with the stuff from a guy who has a cat. Nostral is a small, hot, tightly locked inner planet that had modest minerals development on its dark side. Within a generation of the Vorcha's first contact with spacefaring species, robo-mining interests attempted to exploit it only to find their trading partners violently overthrown on a regular basis. The Vorcha's own culture disenfranchised them in Anaskral's case, as their legal claims to the planets were inevitably backed up by violence as a show of dominance. This nuance was lost on the mining corporations, who hired mercenaries to guard their operations with lethal force and never surrendered it to Vorcha claimants. The Reapers sent a small force to destroy Nazgul orbital stations and surface facilities. There is no indication that there are any survivors. Orbital distance 0.37 astronomical units, orbital period 0.3 Earth years, radius 1754 kilometers, day length 0.3 Earth years, atmospheric pressure trace, surface temperature 156 Celsius, surface gravity 0.41 G. Hashtag. A Systems Alliance official once summarized his tour of the Vorcha homeworld as follows: you can make your own hashtag in 2 steps. Take Hell, then add Vorcha. The planet is highly volcanically active, leading to periodic releases of toxic gases into the air and water supplies, as well as other extreme situations that give rise to the Vorcha's legendary adaptability. Overcrowding and the extermination of most their ecology led to a planet covered in weeds and hardy vermin. The Vorcha do not have a recognized single government that would allow them membership in any galactic league. Alliances between bloodlines are tenuous at best, and the Vorcha's short, violent lines ensure they are few lasting institutions. The Reaper invasion of Hashtag encountered little formal military resistance, but the harvesting process is slow. Destroy neighboring cities fails to intimidate Vorcha, who become submissive only if physically dominated in person. Cutting off their water supply simply makes them adapt their bodies to get moisture from food. Allied intelligence hypothesizes that Reaper forces are not harvesting yet, instead seeking to immobilize Hashtag's population and prevent them from joining the fight for the galaxy at large. Population, lack of census data, spreading estimates from 6.0 to 9.3 billion pre-invasion. Capital Hatash disputed. Orbital distance 0.75 astronomical units, orbital period 0.72 Earth years, radius 3,902 kilometers, day length 44.9 Earth hours, atmospheric pressure 0.27 Earth atmospheres, surface temperature 32 Celsius, surface gravity 0.695 G. Parisk. A lifeless desert, Parisk was colonized soon after first contact with the Vorcha. Several Asari mining corporations working with the Ciari-based charity called Mine in Hand built settlements on the planet's surface and orbital stations. Adopting Vorcha orphans from Hashtag, they raised them to live non-violent lives and employed them in the mining industry. While Mine in Hand's efforts were at first labeled colonialist, the orphans became minor celebrities when it was discovered that the Vorcha habit of using violence to communicate with was not completely innate. Several spoke throughout Citadel space on behalf of their species, but their short lifespans kept their careers very brief. Even today, companies that want Vorcha labor have the poor choice between adopting and educating them as youngsters just to watch them age and die, or dealing with autonomous but violent adults. Reaper invasions devastated Parisk. Its industrial capacity was ruthlessly targeted, and the Vorcha mining communities were exterminated. The only silver lining is that the deaths here have created martyrs, inspiring other alien race Vorcha to fight for their galaxy. Orbital distance 1.7 astronomical units, orbital period 2.5 Earth years, radius 2,283 kilometers, day length 49.1 Earth hours, atmospheric pressure trace, surface temperature minus 85 Celsius, surface gravity 0.32 G. Lirad. The hydrogen and helium gas giant, Lirad was the site of a brief and decisive battle between Vorcha and Reaper forces. It was impolitically characterized on the news vids as millennia-old death machines versus a gang of teenagers, a reference to the Vorcha brief lifespans and inexperience. In reality, many of the ships were commanded by other species to avoid this shortcoming, but the insult still sticks. The defenders outnumbered the Reapers, but their force was comprised of flat ships suitable to a militia, since never before had it been in anyone's best interest to allow Vorcha to build a dreadnought. Superior Reaper firepower soon wiped out the Vorcha fleet, and the fuel infrastructure around Lirad was pulverized. Rumors abound that the Reapers did not lose a single ship. Orbital distance 3.5 astronomical units, orbital period 7.3 Earth years, radius 72,280 kilometers, day length 11.9 Earth hours. Rustaka. This methane ammonia gas giant was swept past during the Reaper invasion, and once its Helium-3 collection equipment was destroyed, it was largely ignored. Fortune ships that survived the attack on Hashtok and Lirat can be found discharging their drive cores here before making spy sorties or retreating further into space. Orbital distance 7.1 astronomical units. Orbital period 21.2 Earth years. Radius 32,734 kilometers. Length 14.5 Earth hours. Alright, let's save the game and do some scanning.
Signal confirmed.
Reapers here. Fuckers. Hashtok. What have we found? Void Devil's fighter wing. Nice. And fuel. Good.
Commander.
Void Devil's fighter wing. The Void Devils are a recent military creation consisting of warship fighter pilots trained by human and Turian mentors. Though uniformly young by other species standards, the Devils have laser-like focus on the task of taking out enemy ships. Courageous in the extreme, they are also notably disciplined for warship. During the invasion of their homeworld, the Devils fought hard but ultimately obeyed the order to retreat while the wing was still intact, leaving them alive but burning for revenge. 30. Nice. This is really good. Readiness rating 50%. We can't erase it since we need to play multiplayer for that. And on my streams we don't do multiplayer.
Commander.
Right, 100% assets recovered. So let's go to Urla Rast. There are 3 planets here. Bovistor. Named the Shining Sea in Old Volus language, Bovistor is so named for its boiling surface rich in glowing hot alumina, flecked with the dark ridges of carbon. This thick atmosphere of nitrogen and oxygen is no indicator of life, since the temperatures are simply too high. Orbital distance 0.7 astronomical units. Orbital period 0.6 Earth years. Radius 7,307 kilometers. Day length 33.5 Earth hours. Atmospheric pressure 8.39 Earth atmospheres. Surface temperature 253 Celsius. Surface gravity 1.6 G. Talis Phia is a planet capable of supporting life, if that life happens to breathe ammonia. Discovered by Asari explorers, the planet was used as a bargaining chip by the Citadel Council, who quickly drafted a colonization agreement with its wealthy client race, the Volus. The Council would fund the Volus colonization effort in return for massive trade benefits. With uncharacteristic enthusiasm, an enormous Volus influx ensued, and the Council reaped the economic benefits for 1,000 years before the colonization bubble burst. The Reapers found Talis Phia easy prey. The independent planet has a defense fleet only sufficient to handle small-scale actions. Its high population and industrial base, once a deterrent to war with other terminus system worlds, has only served to attract a larger number of Reapers than usual. Colony founded 385 CE. Population 3.8 billion. Population estimates are pre-invasion. Capital Usradao. Orbital distance 1.6 astronomical units. Orbital period 2 Earth years. Radius 7,550 kilometers. Day length 33.8 Earth hours. Atmospheric pressure 6.15 Earth atmospheres. Surface temperature minus 25 Celsius. Surface gravity 1.7 G. DOS ATAB. An ice giant, DOS ATAB Sky Warden, has a bluish tinge from its hydrogen-methane atmosphere. Its axial tilt causes its seasons to vary wildly in temperatures. Orbital distance 3.1 astronomical units. Orbital period 5.5 Earth years. Radius 47,428 kilometers. Day length 10.3 Earth hours.
I found something.
Prothean obelisk. %50 assets.
Faster than light jump successful.
Still not good enough.
I found something.
So, we've got some fuel.
Faster than light jump successful.
Yeah! Refueled. Damn it, not entirely, but still. Good enough for us. This is supposed to be reading stream, so let's go.
You're cleared to dock, Normandy. Do you need ground transport?
I'm headed to Purgatory.
We'll have a cab ready for you.
She has no questions why Commander Shepard needs to go directly to the bar. Omega reclaimed. Omega's secrets. Cerberus' occupation of Omega. The elusive man's plan to capture Omega was elegantly wrought. Experimental specimens called adjutants escaped from a Cerberus facility beyond the Omega 4 mass relay, took command of Cerberus convoy, and arrived on Omega to wreak havoc. With more adjutants incoming, Cerberus reached out to Aria T'Loak, claiming it needed her help to stop its wayward test subjects. Reluctantly offering her own forces in an alliance, Aria joined Cerberus General Oleg Petrovsky aboard his ship to oversee the battle. When the adjutants overran the Cerberus Omega fleet, Petrovsky and Aria escaped through the Omega 4 relay. However, Petrovsky's subordinate Colonel Raymond Ash had remained behind on Omega to take control of the station's defenses while Cerberus reinforcements approached. Announcing that it was protecting the galaxy from the adjutant threat, Cerberus seized Omega, giving the elusive man full control of the Omega 4 relay and the space beyond. Without Aria to keep them in line, the various criminal and mercenary factions from the station erupted, fighting both Cerberus ground troops and each other. Meanwhile, Arya was taken captive by General Petrovsky. Realizing that the adjutants had simply been a ruse to capture Omega, Arya managed to escape back to Omega, slipping away into its underbelly to organize the resistance force. Eventually, Petrovsky ordered the Cerberus forces to evacuate the station, but this was yet another ruse, this time to lure Arya out of hiding. With his troops out of harm's way, Petrovsky summoned a massive Cerberus fleet and presented Arya with an ultimatum: leave Omega or lose it. Petrovsky threatened to destroy the station rather than lose control, and with no alternative, Arya left, vowing she would return to claim Omega and take her revenge. Cerberus Adjutant. Adjutant is the Cerberus code name for the experimental subjects created at a secret facility beyond the Omega-4 relay. The creatures are based on Reaper technology, and the adjutants encountered on Omega have the ability to infect any life form to create a new adjutant. Adjutants are deadly pack hunters. They initially remain hidden, observing potential victims and distracting them with subtle whispers. When they select a target, adjutants ambush them with charged projectiles that create a violently unstable mass effect field that causes severe disorientation and renders the target helpless. Enhanced muscle tissue gives adjutants the ability to leap surprising distances, allowing them to close in and infect their target quickly. The baseline form of the being does not match any known species. Xenobiologists suspect that Reapers may have originally created and implemented the virus several cycles before the protein extinction, and that it still carries genetic traces of its original host. If this is true, then, like the Collectors, adjutants are a glimpse into the distant past at a species whose very existence and struggle against the Reapers has long been forgotten. Hey, but they destroyed the Omega-4 station. Was there any other station then? Cerberus General Oleg Petrovsky. Military strategist and classical scholar, General Oleg Petrovsky is one of the Elusive Man's most respected operatives. As a corporal in the First Contact War, Petrovsky was forced to take command of his unit and proved his tactical brilliance by holding off repeated Turian attacks for weeks. The war ended before his position was overrun, but not before Petrovsky had witnessed firsthand the brutality of the Turian war machine. Despite being praised and promoted for his bravery, Petrovsky eventually found more common ground with Cerberus than the Alliance military. Since leading the campaign to seize Omega, Petrovsky has proven to be capable of a firm administrator who is focused on containing or eliminating unstable elements before they threaten Cerberus' occupation of the station. Cerberus Rampart Mech. Though its initial invasion of Omega was successful, Cerberus was soon faced with the problem of controlling the station's large and often lawless population. The initial solution was to establish detainment areas bordered with impassable force fields, believed to be sheets of plasma suspended in a magnetic field. As Cerberus tightened its control of the station, units that could pass freely through the force fields to police the populace became necessary, leading Cerberus engineers to recover Loki security mechs from the remaining Eclipse mercenary chapters. When upgraded with Cerberus' proprietary mini-fabrication technology, shielding recovers from Omega's Element Zero processing plants and additional ablative armor, the result was the Rampart Mech, a flexible combat unit designed for control and intimidation of Omega's inhabitants. Rampart Mechs can seek out targets or troublemakers anywhere on Omega, even lower industrial areas where radiation can be intense. It is fitted with infrasound and scent markers that are fight or flight triggers for several species and are intended to subdue or disperse a crowd. When necessary, Rampart Mechs can channel all available power into generating a high-intensity shield that defends against hacking or biotic attacks and weapons fire, protecting the Rampart until reinforcements arrive. For combat, most Rampart Mechs are equipped with a standard issue shotgun. If damaged beyond repair, the Rampart Mech destroys the shotgun's aluminum alloy heat dispersal sinks, coating any nearby assailants in red-hot residue that burns through armor. In extreme situations, the Rampart Mech overclocks into a hunter-killer mode, diverting power from its unique shields to single-mindedly destroy its target. In this mode, the Rampart Mech moves faster, attacking with a flash-forward Omniblade that targets unprotected nerve clusters and immobilizes the luckless target. The Rampart also channels excess heat through the dispersal sinks, visibly burning off materials to create an intimidating display as it advances. Nyreen Kandros. Born to a family with a long and honored tradition of military service, Nyreen Kandros left the Turian military after the emergence of her biotic abilities. Often suspicious of biotics, the Turians stripped Nyreen of the Cabal units where her abilities and experience were grossly underutilized. After several years as a mercenary, Kandros was drawn to Omega by its reputation as a haven for capable freelancers. Nyreen's early years on Omega were a pivotal time for her. Arya Telog took an interest in Kandros, helping her own her biotic talents while developing her military experience and skills to their full potential. Arya also allowed Nyreen the time she needed to reconcile with her new way of life and her unexpected and initially unwanted abilities. The two eventually parted ways due to irreconcilable differences, but Nyreen Kandros remained on Omega. Upon Arya's return to the station after the Cerberus invasion, Nyreen revealed herself as the leader of the Talons. Reformed under her leadership, the Talons are Omega's newfound symbol of resistance against the Cerberus occupiers. Turian Cabals. The Cabals are an elite biotic Turian unit whose dictum is, "The intangible is unstoppable." As Turian biotics are relatively rare, with biotic abilities manifesting in only a small percentage of Element Zero exposed Turians, Cabals tend to be small and only comprise of 10 to 15 individuals led by a commanding officer called a Cabalium. A Turian Cabal is often deployed covertly as shock troops or saboteurs, or they are sent on long reconnaissance missions for the hierarchy. In addition to advanced biotic training, all Cabal soldiers are highly skilled in small arms, explosives, infiltration tactics, and piloting. Centuries ago, during the Unification Wars, military Black Ops would recruit Turian biotics as infiltrators, planting them anonymously in the regular infantry as observers, or using them as assassins. This historical practice has left a cultural bias against biotic soldiers among the Turian rank and file. As a result, the Turian hierarchy prefers to keep its cabals isolated from other branches of the military, citing safety and unit cohesion concerns. Even Turians whose biotic abilities are not combat proficient are segregated into cabals, often forcing them to cut short their promising careers in order to serve as a medic or maintenance officer. However, Cabal soldiers are professionals. Those who do not adapt are quickly weeded out, resulting in strongly unified teams or experienced deadly biotic warriors who see their isolation as a necessary sacrifice to protect the hierarchy. The war with the Reapers means that the Turian hierarchy no longer has the luxury of keeping such powerful assets in reserve. Many Cabals have been recalled to Palaven, while the most experienced have been dispatched to the front lines for surgical strikes on Reaper strongholds, or to provide support for regular infantry.
The Elcor are a citadel species native to the high-gravity world Dakuna. They are massive creatures standing on 4 muscular legs for increased stability. Elcor move slowly, an evolved response to an environment where a fall can be lethal. This has colored their psychology, making them deliberate and conservative. Elcor's speech is ponderous and monotone. Among themselves, scent, slight movements, and sub-vocalized infrasound convey shades of meaning that make a human smile seem as subtle as a fireworks display. Since their subtlety can lead to misunderstandings with other species, the Elcor often go out of their way to clarify when they are being sarcastic, amused, or angry. Dakuna's high gravity impedes mountain formation. Most of the world consists of flat, open plains, which prehistoric Elcor wandered across in small family bands. Modern Elcor still prefer open sky, and can become restless and uncomfortable on long starship journeys. The Geth are a humanoid race of networked AIs. They were created by the Quarians 300 years ago as tools of labor and war. When the Geth showed signs of self-evolution, the Quarians attempted to exterminate them. The Geth won the resulting war. This example has led to legal, systematic repression of artificial intelligences in galactic society. The Geth possess a unique distributed intelligence. An individual has rudimentary animal instincts, but as their numbers and proximity increase, the apparent intelligence of each individual improves. In groups, they can reason, analyze situations, and use tactics as well as any organic race. Geth space is located at the trailing end of the Perseus Arm, beyond the lawless Terminus systems. The Perseus Veil, an obscuring dark nebula of opaque gas and dust, lies between their space and the Terminus systems. The Hanar are a Citadel species known for excessive politeness. They speak with scrupulous precision and take offense at improper language. Hanar that expect to deal with other species take special courses to help them unlearn their tendency to take offense at improper speech. All Hanar have two names. The face name is known to the world. The soul name is kept for use among close friends and relations. Hanar never refer to themselves in the first person in conversation with someone they know on a face name basis. To do so is considered egotistical, so instead they refer to themselves as this one, or the impersonal it. Their homeworld, Kage, has 90% ocean cover and orbits an energetic white star, resulting in a permanent blanket of clouds. Due to the presence of Prothean ruins on the world, many Hanar worship them, and Hanar myths often speak of an elder race that civilized them by teaching them language. 2 centuries ago, the Hanar helped. When the Asari discovered the Citadel, they also discovered the Keepers, a docile, multi-limbed insect race that seemingly exists only to maintain and repair the great Prothean station. Early attempts to communicate with or study the Keepers were failures, and it is now illegal to interfere with or impede Keeper activity. Because they are completely non-threatening, Keepers have become virtually invisible to everyone else. Similarly, they seem indifferent to other species, except for their tendency to help new arrivals integrate themselves into the Citadel. No matter how many Keepers die due to old age, violence, or accident, they maintain a constant number. No one has discovered the source of new Keepers, but some hypothesize they are genetic constructs, biological androids created somewhere deep in the inaccessible core of the Citadel itself. The Krogan evolved in a hostile and vicious environment. Until the invention of gunpowder weapons, eaten by predators was still the #1 cause of Krogan fatalities. Afterwards, it was death by gunshot. When the Solarians discovered them, the Krogan were a brutal, primitive species struggling to survive a self-inflicted nuclear winter. The Solarians culturally uplifted them, teaching them to use and build modern technology so they could serve as soldiers in the Rachni War. Liberated from the harsh conditions of their homeworld, the quick-breeding Krogan experienced an unprecedented population explosion. They began to colonize nearby worlds, even though these worlds were already inhabited. The Krogan rebellions lasted nearly a century, only ending when the Turians unleashed the Genophage, a Solarian-developed bioweapon that crushed all Krogan resistance. The Genophage makes only 1 in 1,000 pregnancies viable, and today the Krogan are a slowly dying breed. Understandably, the Krogan harbor a grudge against all other species, especially the Turians. Driven from their home system by the Geth nearly 3 centuries ago, most Quarians now live aboard the Migrant Fleet, a flotilla of 50,000 vessels ranging in size from passenger shuttles to mobile space stations. Home to 17 million Quarians, the flotilla understandably has scarce resources. Because of this, each Quarian must go on a rite of passage known as the Pilgrimage when they come of age. They leave the fleet and only return once they have found something of value they can bring back to their people. Other species tend to look down on the Quarians for creating the Geth and for the negative impact their fleet has when it enters a system. This has led to many myths and rumors about the Quarians, including the belief that underneath their clothes and breathing masks, they are actually cybernetic creatures, a combination of organic and synthetic parts. The Volus are a member species of the Citadel with their own embassy, but they are also a client race of the Turians. Centuries ago, they were voluntarily absorbed into the hierarchy, effectively trading their mercantile prowess for Turian military protection. Irun, their home world, lies far beyond the normal life zone of its star. However, the world has a high-pressure greenhouse atmosphere that traps enough heat to support an ammonia-based biochemistry. As a result, the Volus must wear pressure suits and breathers when dealing with other species, as conventional nitrogen-oxygen air mixtures are poisonous to them. And in the low-pressure atmospheres tolerable to most species, their flesh will actually split open. Volus culture is tribal, bartering lands and even people to gain status. This culture of exchange inclines them to economic pursuits. It was the Volus who authorized the Unified Banking Act, and they continue to monitor and balance the Citadel economy.
It was the Volus. It was them. Them. Organizations. Cerberus Atlas. The Atlas Cerberus research arm has combined the deadly armor and firepower of a Ymir mech with the tactical superiority of a trained human pilot. An Element Zero core allows the Atlas to be airdropped onto a battlefield with minimal impact damage. Its thick armor includes a robust transparent canopy made from a polycrystalline composite proprietary to Cerberus. Alliance engineers hypothesize that the material is some kind of synthetic sapphire composed with interlayers to resist cracking and thermal damage. Although the Atlas is somewhat unwieldy in the field, its anti-personnel machine guns and ability to shrug off damage from anything short of a heavy weapon makes it a fearsome opponent. Heavy loss of life is to be expected in any unprepared encounter with this unit. Established bakery. Cerberus Centurion. Centurions are Cerberus frontline tacticians that are meant to enact the elusive man's strategic goals, although it is clear that they have leeway to adapt as an encounter develops. The only useful intelligence that the Alliance has gathered on Centurions relates to their armament. Each Centurion carries an M96 Mattock heavy rifle modified to launch smoke grenades, leaving enemies vulnerable to crossfire. Cerberus Guardian. Guardians, the Cerberus equivalent of human tanks, are slow-moving soldiers who carry enormous polycrystalline composite shields. The weight of the shield requires an armored suit equipped with hydraulic assists and a dedicated power supply. Combining this exceptional protection with a suite of environment mapping systems, Guardian focus on flanking opponents to flash them from cover. A Guardian's slow but relentless approach is intended to demoralize enemies as well as draw their fire but rip away their shield, and Guardians become little more than cannon fodder. Cerberus Engineer. Cerberus combat engineers are specialized support units that assist primary forces while staying out of the line of fire. They wear lighter armor than the typical Cerberus combatant, using a modified mesh that allows greater mobility. Under cover and out of sight, engineers focus on setting up and maintaining turrets as well as repairing mechanical units or armored allies. When confronted, they return fire only for as long as it takes them to find cover again and let frontline combat personnel take over. Although engineers are not particularly dangerous on their own, the Alliance specifically warns troops to remain alert for turrets which can move down an entire squad while the engineer escapes. Holy hell. Lots of articles here. Cerberus Nemesis. The Nemesis is Cerberus sniper specialist. Customized implants allow the Nemesis to withstand the crippling kickback of the M98 Widow anti-material rifle, turning a redoubtable opponent into a force capable of inflicting instant death. A suite of high-tech scanning equipment makes the sniper adept at maintaining cover, meaning Nemesis is usually spotted only after opening fire, assuming the target survives the first round. Because of self-destruct mechanisms that activate upon the sniper's death, the Alliance has never retrieved an example of Nemesis augmentation technology. This fact, combined with Cerberus force's penchant for suicide when faced with capture, has made scientific study of their implants impossible. Cerberus Phantom. Phantoms are agile Cerberus agents with a wide array of offensive and defensive capabilities, including particular specialization in evasive maneuvers and firing from cover. Although intelligence on their implants still evades the Alliance, Phantoms are known to be able to create a personal barrier for greater protection. Monomolecular blades are biotic shielding and biologic shielding allows Phantoms to engage in close quarters combat, and Phantoms can briefly cloak in order to recover from injuries. Because of this ability, the Alliance recommends personal confirmation of a Phantom's death. Cerberus Trooper. Assault troopers are the backbone of Cerberus forces. Those candidates who make it through the grueling basic training are submitted to an intensive psychological program that renders them fearless, disciplined, and unrelenting. Outfitted with custom-designed armor and rifles, these soldiers function with determined precision and practice teamwork. The first to rush into a fight, assault troopers often work in tandem with more powerful units. They make strategic use of this scenario, keeping their opponents occupied until it is too late to react to the combined Cerberus force bearing down on them. Mercenaries, Blue Suns. Founded by notorious Batarian slaver Solem Dalsera, the Blue Suns began as a skew and verge protection racket providing genuine protection from slavers and pirates. Eventually captured by a Systems Alliance Navy, Dalsera beat almost 24 charges to be convicted on a single count of conspiracy. The slaver benefited from the tutelage of cellmate and brilliant con artist Bernard Legit's Ledger. Upon release 5 years later, Dalsera incorporated Blue Suns as a legal security agency. Today, the Blue Suns boast a galaxy-wide force of Batarians, Turians, humans, and Krogan. Each deployment is backed by a logistics corps, selling everything from heavy weapons to shaving cream. Despite claims that Blue Suns sells its captives as slaves, no Blue Suns employee has ever been convicted on such charges. Many Blue Suns members sport the company logo in tattoo form, removed during assignments and reapplied at mission end. Mercenaries, Eclipse. Brainchild of Sari Commando Jonas Sedaris, Eclipse was incorporated as a proactive security company. Influenced by Asari Salarian military doctrine, Eclipse specializes in sabotage, assassination, and personal and organizational security. Although Citadel governments regard the corporation with suspicion, it's embraced in the Skillian Verge and Terminus systems. Early on, Sedaris sought government contracts to establish market share against the better established Blue Suns. Her agency scored a galactic PR coup by retaking several space stations captured by the Anhur People's Liberation Army and neutralizing its leaders, a victory Eclipse's marketing department never ceases trumpeting. Based on a mega station, Eclipse controls nearly 20% of the asteroid's real estate. Its services range from mech repair to open warfare, although assassination is reserved for meeting wider, long-term company goals, for instance, preemptive strikes against pirates rather than murdering spouses for insurance money. Despite numerous reports, Eclipse denies sabotaging or kidnapping business rivals. Mercenaries, the Blood Pack. Originally a small Terminus Systems Vorcha gang, the Blood Pack was transformed into a legion by visionary Krogan battlemaster Ganner Rang. Exiled for striking a female in anger, Rang obsessed over reclaiming his lost status. Leading the Vorcha pack as a pirate crew, Rang cultivated recruits and infamy for a decade before incorporating his fighters as a security company across the Skillian Verge. His notoriety ensured his initial public offering for investors made him rich beyond most Krogan's dreams. Rang returned triumphantly to his clan, rallying elders, Krogan hordes, and their firepower and biotic support towards professional violence in the Terminus systems. Banned from Citadel space, the Blood Pack bribes its way through spaceports into armed conflicts across the galaxy. Priding themselves for accepting otherwise untouchable contracts, the Blood Pack rejects bodyguarding and security in favor of cases requiring minimal oversight and maximal violence.
The Citadel is an ancient deep space station presumably constructed by the Protheans. Since the Prothean extinction, numerous species have come to call the Citadel home. It serves as the political, cultural, and financial capital of the galactic community. To represent their interests, most species maintain embassies on the Presidium, the Citadel's inner ring. The Citadel Tower in the center of the Presidium holds the Citadel Council chambers. Council affairs often have far-reaching effects on the rest of the galactic community. 5 arms, known as the Wards, extend from the Presidium. Their inner surfaces have been built into cities, populated by millions of inhabitants from across the galaxy. The Citadel is virtually indestructible. If attacked, the station can close its arms to form a solid, impregnable shell. For as long as the station has existed, an enigmatic race called the Keepers has maintained it. Spectres are agents from the Office of Special Tactics and Reconnaissance and answer only to the Citadel Council. They are elite military operatives, granted the authority to deal with threats to peace and stability in whatever way they deem necessary. They operate independently or in groups of 2 or 3. Some are empathetic peacekeepers resolving disputes through diplomacy. Others are cold-blooded assassins, ruthlessly dispatching problem individuals. All get the job done one way or another, often operating outside the bounds of galactic law. The Spectres were founded after the Solarians joined the Council. For many years they operated in secrecy as backroom problem solvers. Only after the Krogan rebellions did their activities become publicized. Assignment of a Spectre is less contentious than a military deployment, but makes it clear that the Council is concerned about a situation.
Planets and locations. Aeya. Humans detected Aeya as an Earth-type world via telemetry in 2165. After probe surveys indicated life, lush vegetation, ample fresh water and breathable air, the Alliance upgraded the planet to a garden world colonization priority. Commanded by Captain Roland Taylor, the crew of Alliance survey vessel Hugo Gernsback made planetfall on the jungle world in 2173. Soon after, ship transmissions inexplicably stopped. While the precise fate of the Hugo Gernsback command and crew is unknown, they are presumed killed in action and their vessel destroyed. What? What is this list? Pharos is a habitable world in the Etican Beta cluster. 2/3 of the habitable surface is covered with the ruins of a crumbling Prothean megatropolis. In the millennia since the Prothean extinction, the ruins have been picked over by looters many times. Pharos was considered a poor prospect for colonization, as little open ground remains for agriculture. The only sizable freshwater sources are the poles, which are tapped by the decaying Prothean aqueduct systems. The dead cities, while in good condition considering their antiquity, are of certain stability. Ground level is congested by a dozen meters of fallen debris, and the air is fouled by dust. In 2178, the Human Exogenic Corporation announced its intention to place a permanent colony in Pharos to thoroughly explore the ruins. The pioneer settlement was placed on the upper levels of several intact skyscrapers, using the surviving Prothean aqueducts and rooftop hydroponic gardens to support the population. Freedom's Progress colony was once a typical Alliance settlement, but following complete communications blackout and its apparent destruction is now a lightning rod for anxiety and dread in the galactic human community. The communications blackout followed an upgrade of the colony's small military force, supplemented by mechs and security drones with high-powered tower-mounted Guardian lasers. Colonists complain about construction cost overruns, delays, noise, and damage to the local environment. They also fear the defense array could be seen as provocative to their world's neighbors. Such fears may not have been baseless. Authorities have still offered no explanation for the communications blackout, fueling rumors of plagues, natural disasters, or a cult-inspired mass suicide. Located in strategically insignificant space, Freedom's Progress colony had once offered resistant residents spectacular rainbows, lush marshlands, and stunning mountain ranges. Its potential as an agricultural settlement and tourism wonderland rivaled that of any Alliance colony. Haestrom. Before the Geth revolt 300 years ago, the Quarians colonized Haestrom to study the mysterious instability of its sun, which threatened premature eruption into a red giant. As a scientific outpost of minimal military value, Haestrom was ill-equipped to repel Geth forces during the insurrection and fell quickly under their control. Captured Geth planetary survey data indicates that despite sustaining damage, Haestrom's architecture remains as it was before the war, preserving a Quarian architectural style that no longer exists anywhere else in the galaxy. Because Haystrom's sun has overwhelmed the planet's protective magnetosphere, humans foolhardy enough to venture into Geth-controlled Haystrom must exercise extreme caution. Minutes of radiation exposure will overload shields and hours of exposure will kill. Furthermore, solar output renders surface-to-orbit communications nearly impossible. Ilos. Like the ancient human city of Troy, Ilos is a world known only through second-hand sources. References to Ilos have been found at several other Prothean ruins, though direct study of the world is unlikely to occur. Ilos lies in a remote area of the Terminus systems only accessible by the legendary Mu Relay. 4,000 years ago, the Mu Relay was knocked out of position by a supernova and lost. Since then, Ilos and its cluster have been inaccessible. Occasionally, a university will organize an expedition to chart a route to Ilos using conventional FTL drive. These never get beyond the planning stages due to the distance and danger. The journey could take years or decades, passing through the hostile Terminus systems and dozens of unexplored systems. Ilium. A regional hub of Sar commerce awash in riches, Ilium is infamous for its abusive labor practices and legalization of nearly everything except murder. As such, Ilium is the preferred production site for weapons and pharmaceuticals that would be illegal nearly everywhere else, made even more lucrative by legal indentured servitude. Among the biotics-related pharmaceutical producers is the Dentius Corporation, a rising star in galactic commerce. Despite the dangers of its products, Ilium is renowned for glamour, luxury and safety provided by near-total surveillance, making it a favorite tourist destination. Countless celebrities maintain palatial estates on Ilium and its capital, Nos Astra. The sole obstacle to business on Ilium is its extensive bureaucracy, tolerated only for its provision of security. Regardless of the character of its economy, Ilium's self-congratulatory media exalts its own society with the provincial arrogance of new money, glorifying in sexy CEOs and 10 richest residents lists. Corlus. Known as the Starcraft Cemetery, Corlus was the regional toxic junkyard for centuries. Ships reaching astronautical near-death and connecting Mass Effect relays were sent to Corlus, stripped of every useful component, then dumped planetward to clear shipping lanes. Currently, Corlus hosts numerous merc factions such as the Blue Suns, rumored to be using downed ships' fossils to test advanced munitions. Massive gun batteries threaten anyone attempting planetfall with minimal defenses against ground attack. Because ancient volcanism greenhoused the planet, Corlus was too hot and CO2 rich to develop a biosphere, despite the abundant lakes that could have sponsored the development of life. Now cool enough for protected habitation, but too scorching for anyone but extremophiles and mercenaries seeking secrecy, Corlus supports numerous Krogan outposts. The Krogan have therefore seeded Corlus with a hardy Varen, often kept as warhounds. Varen live primarily on a diet of geophagous vermin and each other.
When humanity won a position on the Council for its part in defending the Citadel, the Alliance chose Captain David Anderson for the position. Udina became his advisor. Anderson eventually quit over frustrations with Council politics, and the Alliance named Udina to the office.
Donald Udina is the lone human on the Citadel Council. Although he has a keen ability for furthering his own political career, Udina has long promoted humanity's interests first and foremost in the galactic arena. When humanity won a position on the Council for its part in defending the Citadel, the Alliance chose Captain David Anderson for the position. Udina became his advisor. Anderson eventually quit over frustrations with Council politics, and the Alliance named Udina to the office. Despite his unwavering focus on human interests, Councillor Udina is usually willing to collaborate with other species. Even his opponents concede that Udina gives fair consideration to non-human proposals, so long as humanity also benefits.
Earth, the home world and capital of humanity, was enjoying a new golden age before the Reapers attacked. Disease, pollution, and other social ills were on the decline, thanks to technological advances and a wealth of resources from the colonies. Earth was an inspiration even to alien cultures, resulting in influence out of proportion with humanity's brief time on the galactic stage. The Reaper attack has put an end to any semblance of this former life. The great cities of Earth are storehouses of human DNA for the Reapers to harvest. Reaper gunships, capable of megaton-scale firepower, annihilated industrial centers in seconds. The militaries of Earth's disparate nation-states have retained only partial communication with the system's alliance fleets, leaving the planet's resistance efforts uncoordinated and vulnerable. The loss of the Combui network has cut off Earth's economy from the rest of the galaxy, sending shockwaves across galactic markets and a significant obstacle to receiving aid. A political economic pact for collective colonial security, the Alliance is the central galactic institution of human society. The Alliance gained associate membership to the Citadel Council in 2165 and full membership in 2183, with Ambassador David Anderson representing humanity. Human political economic relationships vary between combative and lucrative. The Turians, who'd fought humans during the 2157 First Contact War, have become valuable trade partners, despite residual social hostility. Other relationships are even more complicated. The rapid rise of human political influence on the Council, achieving in decades what others waited or are still waiting centuries to acquire, has galvanized suspicion and resentment against humanity. That negativity is vastly outweighed by the respect and trust humanity earned by saving the Council during the 2183 attack on the Citadel, at the cost of Alliance cruisers Cairo, Cape Town, Emden, Jakarta, Madrid, Seoul, Shenyang, and Warsaw, and their 2,400 crew. The Systems Alliance is an independent supranational government representing the interests of humanity as a whole. The Alliance is responsible for the governance and defense of all extrasolar colonies and stations. The Alliance grew out of the various national space programs as a matter of practicality. Sol's planets had been explored and exploited through piecemeal national efforts. The expense of colonizing entire new solar systems could not be met by any one country. With humans knowing that alien contact was inevitable, there was enough political will to jointly fund an international effort. Still, the Alliance was often disregarded by those on Earth until the First Contact War. While the national governments dithered and bickered over who should lead the effort to liberate Shanxi, the Alliance fleet struck decisively. Post-war public approval gave the Alliance the credibility to establish its own parliament and become the galactic face of humanity.
Noveria is a cool, rocky world with most of its hydrosphere locked up in massive glaciers. A privately chartered colony world, the planet is owned by the Noveria Development Corporation holding company. The NDC is funded by investment capital from 2,000 high-technology development firms and administered by an executive board representing their interests. The investors built remote hot labs in isolated locations across Noveria's surface. These facilities are used for research too dangerous or controversial to be performed elsewhere, as Noveria is technically not part of Citadel space and therefore exempt from Council law. A special arrangement, Citadel special tactics and reconnaissance agents have been granted extraterritorial privileges, but it remains to be seen how committed the Executive Board is to that principle. Given its unique situation, it is understandable that Noveria is often implicated in all manner of wild conspiracy theories. Omega. Originally an asteroid rich in element 0, Omega was briefly mined by the Protheans, who eventually abandoned it due to its thick impenetrable crust. Thousands of years later, nature did what even the Protheans could not. A collision with another asteroid broke Omega in half, exposing its trove of element 0 for easy mining. A rush ensued as corporations and private individuals tried to strike it rich on Omega, and thieves and outlaws followed in their wake. As space became tight, construction of processing facilities extended vertically from the asteroid, creating Omega jellyfish-like silhouette. To prevent future collisions, the station is ringed with enormous mass effect field generators that redirect incoming debris. Today, Omega is a major hub of narcotics, weapons and ESO trafficking without even a pretense of civilian government or military control. Only mercenary groups have been able to instill a limited order. The most ruthless is an Asari syndicate run by the notorious Arya T'Loak.
Admiral Stephen Hackett is a decorated officer in the Systems Alliance, currently assigned to Arcturus Station on the far side of the Sol Relay. In the battle for the Citadel, Admiral Hackett commanded the 5th Fleet. Following that victory, he was promoted to head of the Alliance military. Hackett was born to a single mother in Buenos Aires in 2134. When his mother died in the pandemic of 2146, he was placed in the Advanced Training Academy for Juveniles, where his superior talents in science and leadership quickly became evident. Hackett enlisted in 2152, volunteering for high-risk missions to colonize space beyond the Sol Relay. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant on Arcturus Station in 2156, and soon proved his ability in the First Contact War. His rare ascent from enlisted man to admiral remains an Alliance legend. Admiral David Edward Anderson is a career military officer in the Systems Alliance Navy. Born in London in 2137, he later moved to Arcturus Station and became the first graduate of the Alliance's now renowned N7 Marine program. Anderson is one of the Alliance's most decorated Special Forces operatives, and served with honor during the First Contact War. He was the original captain of the SSV Normandy before relinquishing command to his XO, Commander Shepard. After the Alliance victory in the Battle of the Citadel, Anderson briefly served as the Citadel's first human counselor. He soon became embroiled in a Cerberus plot to abduct his friend Kaylee Sanders, however, and learned that he was unable to live a life without action. He stepped down as counselor and returned to the military to prepare for the Reaper invasion. The Alliance Parliament named Donald Udina as his successor.
Decorated? No wonder we're losing. Humanity was too busy decorating Hackett.
Dr. Liara Tassoni is an Asari information broker with a background in scientific research on Prothean technology. Born on Thessia in 2077, she is the only child of the late matriarch Benezia. Although mother and daughter became estranged in the years before Benezia was indoctrinated by the Reaper known as Sovereign. Tassoni is also a highly trained biotic who served under Commander Shepard aboard the SSV Normandy before the ship was destroyed in a collector attack. Before she became involved in galactic affairs, Dr. Tassoni spent 50 years researching the Protheans' technology and the mystery of their extinction. She now divides her time between uncovering Prothean ruins and consulting with noteworthy representatives of the various Citadel races. The Enhanced Defense Intelligence, or EDI, serves as an information source and cyber warfare defense system on the rebuilt Normandy SR-2. The ship's crew can access EDI at any terminal or through radio contact. During an attack from a collector vessel, pilot Jeff Joker Moreau gave EDI full access to the Normandy systems, allowing the ship to escape. Although EDI retains the control that Moreau gave her, she is usually content to advise the organic crew members who fly and maintain the ship. Garrus Vakarian is a noted Turian sharpshooter and combat engineer. He was born on Palaven and became a Citadel security officer like his father, but left the Force when superiors shut down his investigation into the rogue Spectre Saren Arterius. Vakarian eventually discovered that Saren had been indoctrinated by the Reaper known as Sovereign. Vakarian eventually found his way to the criminal haven of Omega and assumed the name Archangel. There, he and a small group of operatives worked to disrupt the settlement's powerful mercenary groups until Shepard recruited him. The Turian narrowly survived the second Normandy's attack on the Collectors. More recently, Vicarian has become the head of a Turian task force focused on preparing for the Reaper invasion. Major Kaidan Alenko is a human biotic and an officer in the Systems Alliance. He served as staff lieutenant under Commander Shepard on the SSV Normandy during the Battle of the Citadel, and now heads the Special Operations Biotics Division at the Alliance Warfare Center. An Alliance tribunal recently called on Alenko to testify about his experience with the Reapers. Alenko suffers from severe headaches because of the early model L2 biotic implants that he was given as a child. The L2 implants have since been discontinued due to the risk of crippling neurological damage. Miranda Lawson is a high-ranking former Cerberus operative and a human biotic. Lawson headed Project Lazarus, the Cerberus operation that brought Commander Shepard back from the brink of death after the first Normandy was destroyed. Lawson is herself an example of the achievements possible through genetic engineering. She was created in 2150 through manipulation of her father's DNA. Her entire physical and mental composition was deliberately engineered, including a longer lifespan and a superior immune system. Lawson accompanied Commander Shepard on the maiden voyage of the Normandy SR-2 and was part of the crew responsible for the defeat of the Collectors. She has since left Cerberus. Her current whereabouts are unknown.
Pragia, choked by the hypergrowth of non-native plant species, Pragia serves as a galactic reminder about the imperative for careful regulation during colonization. 2 centuries ago, Batarian agribusiness chose uninhabited Pragia as their empire's breadbasket. Colonization authorities introduced non-native, industrially mutated plants that flourished in the world's fertile volcanic soil. Synergizing with Pragia's natural geothermal conditions and chemotropic microbes, the imported species soon became a nightmare. Mutant strains of poisonous and even carnivorous plants arose, overgrowing colonies in days instead of years, and causing the Batarians to abandon their holdings. Because the planet's small animal population is insufficient to check its plant growth, Alliance Ecologists predict soil exhaustion in 400 years. Due to its relative isolation and lack of population, Pragia has become a regional haven for drug runners, weapon smugglers, pirates, mercenaries, terrorists, and intelligence agents seeking secrecy. Time for you to go to sleep? Well, it's for me too. Alright, let's go and raid out somebody. After all, it was reading stream. I think we've read, well, more than half of what we had. So who's out there to be raided out to? Well, I can see that Mithril is playing Anachronox. I don't know. Also, that girl Nana plays Marvel Rivals. Morgul Scorpion plays Star Trek Fleet Command. Although I think that he's AFK. No, he's playing actually. Right, let's read out that girl Nana. She plays Marvel Rivals. It has no story. Although Mithril is playing the game with some story. Right, let's trade out to Mithril. I'd like to see that game of his. I hope you do too. Right, with that, I thank you everyone for watching. Hope that you enjoyed as much as I did. I wish you good night, sweet dreams, and we're raiding to Mithril, who's playing Anachronox. Please give him some love, and until next time, everyone, bye!